Well, good morning, everybody, again. What a beautiful morning we do have, right? It's so great to be out here for the 4th of July celebration. Of course, 4th of July isn't until Friday, so we're getting a good start. We're getting a good start. Love the music. Thanks so much for all the work, all the musicians. I don't know about y'all. I love the 4th of July. I love the 4th of July. I do. I'm like a little kid with the 4th of July, and I have such fond memories of the 4th. Some of y'all have heard me talking about growing up in Memphis. My dad was a priest at this church called Holy Trinity, and it was a special place, y'all. It sort of reminded me it had a good spirit like St. John's does, a good spirit. But one of the great things about this church was that in the middle of Memphis, this church had a pool and a baseball field, okay? Had a pool and a baseball field. So every 4th of July, the whole church would come to a big pool party, and we'd grill out. We'd have homemade peach ice cream, homemade, the cream to mint ice cream. I love that stuff with the rock salt. And then we'd shoot off fireworks in the baseball field. It was awesome, right? I hope you all have good memories of 4th of July like that. Now, in that house in Memphis, we lived in a rectory. The church actually owned the home. And one thing I vividly remember about that house is they had a replica of the Declaration of Independence framed. And it was one of these that looked like it was the old paper. You know what I'm talking about? You ever seen these framed? And I think you can picture it in your mind. But even as a young boy, I had a sense of how important that document was. And I remember always looking at all the different signatures. You know, the signatures catch your eye, how they sign their name and everything. And then those immortal words. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What strong, strong words. What an assertion. What boldness. This is the real American dream. This is the real American dream. What a great country that we can come out here together in the morning in public and worship. Don't miss that. What a gift America is. So, of course, I've been thinking about liberty and freedom, and did you hear the words that St. Paul, that Chuck just read? For you were called to freedom, brothers and sisters, only do not use your freedom for self-indulgence, but through love become slaves to one another. For the whole law is summed up in a single commandment, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So here's the context of that reading in Galatians, okay? There's an argument going on in the early church. Can you imagine that? An argument in church. Who would have thought? So Paul is considered the apostle to the Gentiles, okay? So Paul's traveling all over, right? Trying to convert all these Gentiles. That was his mission. And Peter and James, they're staying within their Jewish Christian circles. They're going to focus on that group while Paul's traveling all around. So you have these two groups in the early church, the Gentile Christians, and then you have the Jewish Christians. And so the Jewish Christians, they're all living under the laws and customs of the Jews, right? And then you have the Gentile Christians who Paul is converting, and they are not living under those laws. Do you see where there's a problem? Do you see where there's a problem? So Paul is arguing his case in this letter to the Galatians that Christians no longer need to follow these laws. Earlier in his letter, he even says, I opposed Peter to his face. Strong words from Paul. See, Paul was saying, we don't have to do anything to be loved by God. We don't have to do anything to be loved by God. We don't have to say certain things. We don't have to do some prescribed kind of rituals. We don't have to do anything to be loved by God. It just is. We just are. It's called grace. It's called grace. We are loved first. And then our response to that love is in thanksgiving. Grace leads to thanksgiving. But we act out our gratitude that God loved us first, not the other way around. We always go back to the other way around, I feel like. Like we got to do something in order for God to love us. Paul's arguing against it. It's not transactional. It's all gift. You see, freedom and love are intertwined. Freedom and love are intertwined. God freely loves us. That is grace. It just is. And I know it's hard to accept, but that's it. We don't have to do anything, but we do have a response. We owe God a response because we no longer live for ourselves. Freedom and love are intertwined, I tell you. So that's a heady argument of what was going on in Paul's world. This is the way I see an image I want to give you of how I see love and freedom intertwined. I was at the pool the other day, and now my boys are all older, so it's kind of fun to watch the little kids at the pool. And there's this one little boy, he's just not quite walking yet. And he's got his mom's in there, and so he's got his little floaties on. He's sitting on the edge of the pool, and he's so happy. This smile on this little boy's face is just so big. He's getting ready, and he just keeps sitting on the side of the pool and jumping into his mom, right? And he just laughing. He's having the best time. In that image, all of a sudden, I saw freedom. That little boy, he was experiencing freedom in the pool. He was having a blast, and his mama wanted him to do it, but his mom was loving him, very loving, and giving freedom. Our God is the same, y'all. Love and freedom are intertwined. Love and freedom are intertwined. So this 4th of July, I hope you take some time to consider how blessed we are to live here in these United States. Grace is free, my friends. God freely loves us, thanks be to God. But this week, remember St. Paul's words, because with this freedom, we have a responsibility to love our neighbors as ourselves. Our freedom demands our response. And Christian, our response is to love them all. Love them all. Amen.